You are about to witness a global movement. The medical system has failed us. Pharmaceuticals are designed to make us sick, weak, dependent. Not anymore. This is the Medicine Girl podcast with renowned healing expert and registered nurse Robin Stebbins. Every week, we shine the light on new ways to heal your body from the root, ignite your inner healer, and tap into your divine wisdom. Begin to live harmoniously with your mind, body, and spirit. You are stronger than you think, braver than you realize. Now is the time to wake up and start living healthier, wealthier, and laugh out loud happier. And here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Medicine Girl podcast. This is me, Robin Stebbins, and I am here with Ian Jin Yap. And what I would really like to kind of center this conversation around this is the third attempt I've tried to talk to you, Ian. First, we had technical difficulties. Second, me, space case. But I really feel like it was the universe in play. And the universe is saying it wasn't the right time. And I don't feel like it was the right time because none of this pandemic had really shown how rapidly it's transforming the global energy. Mm-hmm. And so what I really want to center the conversation around is ways to inform yourself, but not become part of the collective anxiety and fear and promoting chaos through misinformation. So what I really would like to start with, though, Ian, is if you could introduce yourself, and again, you have an amazing backstory. You have an amazing way of transcending a lot of pain that, quite frankly, would leave a lot of people stuck. So I think your story is very vital for us to understand how you got to this place in the healing arts. So if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself, and if you feel comfortable sharing your backstory, I would love to have everyone hear it.
Sure. So my past had a lot of violence in it. So probably around 16 when I realized that there was quite a lot of dysfunction around my environment. I won't say who to protect their identity because I didn't get their permission to talk about it. But it was very violent and very, very turbulent. And I was at the same time trying to figure out who I was, trying to figure out my identity, also to embrace who I am as an individual. And that itself is a full story. But to keep it short and simple, with the dysfunction, with the violence, with the madness, I was spiraling out of control. And with that spiraling, I started to feel as though, I had almost like manic depression. I would wake up at 3 a.m. and I'll start crying. And I was very unstable. I was very violent. So to cope, being my family, my family is pretty spiritual. Despite, like every other family, we all have our own little pot of issues, if you will. Yeah. So I was already beginning monk training, and so I attended a short novitiate program. I was a novice monk for 6 weeks, but 2 weeks at each time at different years. So my mind was already starting to receive a lot of training. There was a lot of chaos, trying to fit in, trying to figure out what I was supposed to do for uni. And it was around this time where a friend of mine who was visiting the monk camp saw me for the 3rd time, and he was like, "Hey, you look really unhappy. What's wrong?" And I kind of confided in him that I wasn't in the right place. And he told me, why not I take you to go see this woman. Her name is Diana, and she runs a ministry called Anchoring the Light. And we drove down to Malacca, which is about 2 hours away. And I forgot how or why we wound up there, but I do remember that it wasn't a good day because I was pretty suicidal at that point. And without telling anybody I was actually planning to do it, but I think the universe is so intelligent, and I think I'm very, very fortunate because I was brought to her, and it was a group breath work where we was working with the energies of the full moon. We were breathing. We were told to lie down and breathe. And I remember I was feeling so unstable prior to the session. And when we started, I was breathing and I was breathing and I was breathing, and I, um, there, there's no part in me that wants to convert anybody in any way. This is not about religion or conversion of any kind, but I felt I had a mystical experience where a voice was speaking to me, and the voice said breathe, and I was really crying uncontrollably.
Uh-huh.
And I was
Really
breathing. I felt this light came about me, and I felt joy, and I started laughing for no reason. And at the same time, during that, somehow that suicidal feeling broke, and
Oh,
I was almost given like an opportunity. Like I felt a question emerge in me: do you want to continue on this path of suicide and self-destruction, or would you want to start to heal and to be like this woman who is facilitating you for another
wow.
person? So I was offered that question deep inside of me, and I said yes. I said yes, I will live, and then began the work. So
Yeah.
because as you and I know, it's recovery is not easy. So with
No.
this beautiful teacher, she taught me the 12 steps. She taught me the Cause and Miracles. She taught me a lot of esoteric teachings that would have been the great foundation that I needed in order for me to study with many other great grandmothers. A lot of my teachers are grandmothers. It's
Mm-hmm.
probably why I'm calm. Like
Yes.
because like I have a lot of grandmothers in my life who would impart their wisdom and their teachings, and it took me about 12 years to have recovery, like full recovery, where in which I do not wake up at 3 in the morning to cry anymore, or
How long was
I'm
it that you were waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, it started around 16, where I was beginning to feel unstable, and it probably lasted for about 12 years, like that. It crescendoed, especially when I was in
Yes.
university, where it was really, really tough, and I was so unstable and failing and not doing well. It was also then I discovered I was dyslexic, and it was just a very horrible time. It took me about 12 years to recover. And
And I really want to make a point of,
sure,
because
yeah.
I think when we're going through these dark times,
Hmm.
I think it's easy to think that it should last a few weeks or
Hmm.
maybe a couple of months, like the dark night of the soul, and when
Oh.
you're emerging out of shadow and choosing light. That,
Hmm.
and I hear this a lot. It's sometimes it's years, and
It's years.
is
Yeah.
and I really want to, that I think that speaks to when you're feeling suicidal or when you're feeling lost,
Oh,
that,
yeah.
or hopeless, that
Hmm.
there is always hope.
There
Just
is.
keep moving forward. The universe is guiding you, and it's when we're so mired down in our own sadness and
Yeah.
the trauma that we suffered as children that we
Hmm.
sometimes can't hear what the universe is saying. but
Yeah.
but it will lead you, and it will keep leading you to those
Yep.
moments of transcendence, of potential transcendence. You still have to do the work, as you know.
Yes, absolutely. And the work is tough. The work isn't easy because, um, I remember having to face how violent I was, or
Yeah.
how disrespectful, or I wasn't cruel in any way, but it was just there was no reverence. And to face these parts of me, it was ugly. But
Yes.
in the end, it's when I got to know these dark forces inside of me, it began to feel very beautiful, because as I befriended them, they really were good friends who were teaching me humility, kindness, and patience. The work is difficult. The work is extremely
Yes.
difficult. I remember my teacher telling me, I think there was one session with her. I was like, why is it so tough? And
Yeah.
she was so sweet because she said that, nothing that is of value is obtained so easily, because if you got it so easily, it's almost like throwing pearls before swine. You would just go like meh and
Right.
throw the great wisdom you earn away just like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really resonate with that. And I really resonate with when we're doing the work, a lot of times we start with what people have done to us and the trauma we
Mm,
suffered as children, and kind of as a almost as a way to understand why we're behaving in certain ways. But then you get to
mm,
that point, that fork in the road, where you have to decide, am I going to face where I showed up poorly?
yeah.
Am I going to face what I did that wasn't
Yeah.
so wonderful? And
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's where people maybe get a little bit afraid, or
Yeah.
disheartened, or like,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm going to stay stuck here in the victim realm
Mm,
and
yeah.
not face the demons of who I am. But like
Yeah.
you said, and I think that's a really good point to make, that there's a lot of beauty in that. It's like
There
our
is.
one some of our best teachers.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very ego stripping. It's not fun. And but with a good facilitator who reminds you constantly that, you are not your issues. That's not your
Right.
real identity. I think that was one of the greatest help, because it was tough to study with the grandmothers, but at the same time, they would never allow me to identify with my weakness or the shame. They said, that's not who you are. Remember, that's not who you are. you
Yes.
are you are a beautiful child of God. And they use a lot of spiritual language. But what, sometimes in my work, a lot of people come in and they tell me that, hey, I'm not very spiritual. Then I would say that, remember that you are a genius. You
Yes.
have genius. So yeah, no, like the language and the semantics doesn't really matter, but it's to just have someone believe in you makes a world of a difference in when a person is healing. Yeah.
And and I really, really believe to my core that
Mm,
we're all craving to be seen, but
yeah.
we only will show you the light, or I will show you
Mm,
what I want you to see. So you can never
mhm,
see me in that respect. So then I'm creating that hungry ghost. I'm just craving for you to see me, but you will never see me because
mm,
I will never show you me. So now we're in this cycle.
yeah.
And when it comes to it, it's like, when we're brave enough to say, this is who I am,
Yeah.
this, the shadow and the light, it's all
Yep.
me. And then as it lands, or if it lands differently on another person and they're not accepting, it doesn't matter anymore,
Yeah.
because it's the real you. But I think that's where the healing is, when we
Absolutely.
just take a moment, like these grandmothers did with you. They just
Yeah.
saw you. They
Yeah, they
saw who,
did.
and they didn't judge you for the past. They didn't expect anything of the future. They just saw you as this
Yeah.
beautiful child of God, as you put it.
Yeah, and and with that consistency, it helps to reparent any individual who did not have that caretaking at the beginning of their life. And my life wasn't all that bad. There was a lot of good in it, and at the same time, like everything, it comes with darkness as well. So it was good to just have that revision with a very, very good teacher who's been through a lot themselves. And
Yes.
yeah, and they, with that love and TLC you get from them, it's very rejuvenating. And even though it took me about 12 years, I don't regret the 12 years, because I really have learned a lot. And transmuted a lot of pain, and still am today.
Hmm.
Still am today in many ways. I'm not perfect in any way, but I am happy in many, many, many ways. Many, many
And,
ways.
but
Yeah.
that's life.
Yeah.
We're not ever going to get to the there.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
never going to get to just now I'm just living in a state of joy and happiness. That's
Yeah.
not what we're meant to be. We're
Yeah.
dynamic individuals of this universe, of this planet.
Mm.
And again, it's
Mm-hmm.
everything is in that flow state. So flow
Mm.
state is chaos, peace,
Mm.
chaos, peace. That's
Yeah.
the flow state. But to be able to love the chaos,
Yeah.
knowing peace is coming.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Beautiful. And
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
then this,
Yeah.
now you're feeling these blooms of happiness. You have these, sounds like amazing mentors. I would love to have these grandmothers in my life.
Oh, yeah, for
Everybody deserves
sure.
that.
Yeah, everyone deserves that. Yeah, like really in your part of the world, one who I study with, I love her to bits. I've never met her, but I count her as the teacher. Grandmother Flor de Mayo. She's doing great work at your part of the world and in America, and she's collecting a lot of seeds and protecting the environment as much as she
Oh,
can. So, yeah, so she's, even at about I don't know how old she is now, but she's still working hard. And yeah, there's a lot of them out there doing great work. And there's at your part of the world, I think that the teen indigenous grandmothers, they're sharing their wisdom.
yes. That,
Yeah,
and
very,
that's what
very hard.
I
Mm.
just had this sense right now, especially
Mm.
recently, is we need to get back to that, the native
Mm.
spirit. And the
Yeah.
Native Americans had, an ideal was, how will my decisions affect the seventh generation?
Yeah.
Not the first, not the second. We don't even care about our next generation.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
don't care. My decisions, as the global consciousness, are how is this going to satisfy my needs in the moment? Who cares
Mm.
about the next moment?
Yeah.
And I think as we really, as this world is just kind of changing
Hmm.
dramatically, more than anyone could have realized, we need to get back to that spirit
Yeah.
of realizing we are Mother Earth.
Yeah.
We
Yeah. I
we
agree.
are the Earth, and as such, we should be. And I'll get rid of should, but it would be wonderful if we could see
Yeah.
that spirit come back. And so
Yeah.
then, as you're transforming and moving through this and transcending this
Mm.
pain,
Yeah.
transmuting,
Hmm.
how did you get into the work that you're doing now? And maybe explain just a
Ah.
little bit about what it is.
Sure. What happened was I was learning a lot of the healing ways for me to get well, and at the same time, I always remembered that feeling of being cared for by somebody. I would love to, pass it on. So I was starting to moonlight as an intuitive. So in my free time during uni, I was already doing readings and giving, naturally somehow giving very healing advice to people with um, eating disorders, not food disorders, eating
Mm-hmm.
disorders or any type of issue. I was able to help a lot, and I was doing like mini rituals here and there. Didn't know what I was doing at that time. I was so raw then, but I just learning, studying, and observing the many healers. And my training was slow. I have to tell everybody who didn't come instantly. Like at that time, a lot of my friends were really very accomplished healers. They had the money to get those trainings and certifications. I was just happily learning by observation and
Mm-hmm.
scrambling for resources. But anyways, after moonlighting for quite a bit, it was around, I think it's probably about 6 years now, um, when my grandmother was starting to transition. She was passing on, and at that time, she was about 99, close to 100.
Oh, wow.
And at that age the doctors can't do much.
Mm-hmm.
They do say stuff like, oh, we can't do much, just make her comfortable, send her home. And I had to pull on my knowledge of healing. At the time, I really had some basic knowledge of healing and massage.
Mm-hmm.
And because she would fall a lot, or she would not be able to pull, or
Yeah.
there was a lot of issues. And I wasn't the main caretaker, but I would visit her quite a bit to give her treatments. And when she passed, you know, I didn't share this with a lot of people because it was very sacred to me, but it feels okay to share it here. That I remember her spirit coming to me and said, you know, you're not going to be very happy being a copywriter, right? And I was a copywriter in an ad agency, and I was like, yeah, I know. And she said, you know that there are a lot of people who would benefit from your work if you are willing to share it. And at that time, I didn't have a lot of self-belief in myself because there were a lot of other great healers, and I did not see how I was going to contribute. And but as life would have it, when I was a copywriter, it got very difficult, and at work, and I just felt this frustration because no matter how hard I worked, I didn't really progress, and
Oh.
it was just really very frustrating. And I decided finally, because I was so exhausted, so whatever, to just quit, take a break. And it was then I started to reach out to uh, being a healer. Started to work at a Japanese acupuncture studio, and slowly gained my confidence back. And it was very slow. Um, yeah, and yeah, that's how I became a healer. I started to offer sound healing, shiatsu, and then at that time I was already a pretty good counselor myself because I've been
Mm-hmm.
through quite a bit. And but ever since then I didn't stop. I kept studying and I kept working till today. So yeah.
And then, and I think too, that just speaks to
Mm.
tenacity. You know, I
Oh,
think it's just,
oh,
we
yeah,
just see what you're doing and you don't give up, and you've been through all these
yeah.
things in 12 years. You know, I would think if I was doing that, someone would tap me on the shoulder and say, you know, it's not working. You've been trying this for 12 years, or keep your
Yeah,
day job. This is, you know, uncertain times, or people always have their opinions, but it's
yeah.
it speaks to you listening to your
Mm,
soul. And
mm,
fortunately you did, because
yeah.
I can speak personally. I had a plant healing
Oh.
with you, and it was one of the top experiences of my life.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
And
Oh,
and
wow.
I went
Mm,
in open, but I feel open to most different spiritual practices, but
mm-hmm.
um I went to different realms when you were doing the healing. And
Yeah.
even so much as my son, I sent you the message after you'd done the healing
Yes.
on me. He had this dream where he threw up leaves, and he said it
Yes.
felt really good. And
Oh, yeah.
I had to message you because I said that has to be connected. That's
That
just,
is, that is,
yeah.
that is, it's so funny, because it, of, it was quite a journey to even embrace that I could do that, because it was outside of the box. It wasn't taught to me. It emerged from inside of me. And because when you first start out, you try to follow the certification, the different teachings, and you follow the formulas and things like
Mm.
that. And suddenly, out of the blue, you feel this. I mean, for me at least, I felt this urge calling me, and they're like, you can work with the plants, right? You can work with their energies without having to administer the medicine, because I do have a bit of training in herbalism. And
Mhm.
and I was like, what? Who's gonna do it? Come on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, but when it happened and it slowly grew to what it came to you, and when it was such a blessing.
So what is this?
Healing.
If you can put
Yeah.
it into words, what
Yeah,
is it
I
that you do?
can. Um so yeah,
But
Pamela.
you do the healings remotely too.
Yes, I
And
do. Yeah, yeah.
where are you? Tell everyone where you are right
Yeah,
now.
I'm in Malaysia, everybody.
So
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
able to make it
yeah.
work. A person, this wonderful man in Malaysia, was able to remotely connect with my energy in
Oh,
Benicia, California.
yeah. Yeah. So
It
funny.
works.
Yeah, it works. And there are a lot of healing people and, curanderas, curanderos, shamans. Uh, they're not known as that. Some of them frown upon the word shaman. I just want to add that in, um, depending on the culture. But healing people who have befriended the plants and were given permission by the plants to do healings. So this falls under the category, there's no official term, but we can just term it temporarily as a working title, as plant spirit healing,
I like
where,
that.
yeah, when we invite the spirit of the plant to balance, and it's almost like each plant has a unique song and a unique another way of saying a song is a DNA sequence, because
Yes.
they really are a unique DNA sequence,
Yes.
a different DNA sequence, a different pattern. And what happens is, as we grow as humans, sometimes a certain part of our development is missing, or it is circumvented by trauma, or a misuse of energy, that falls under the category of sin, quote unquote. Sin is just doing something without knowledge. It's not a bad thing. So
Oh,
let's just start with that. It's not,
yeah.
when there is excess
Because that kind of
vices.
takes the shame away from it.
Yeah, let's take the shame as much as possible
Yes.
away from it.
Yes,
It's just,
please.
yeah, it's just doing something without knowledge, like we don't understand, and when we do it, there's a negative consequence, and it's not bad. It's not
And our
bad. It's
future
just,
self,
yeah,
though, is the one, the future
yeah,
us that now knows better starts to
yeah.
shame the past self. And that's just
Oh,
self-violence. And that's not good.
yeah.
And that will keep
No.
you stuck.
Yeah, let's not do that. It's okay.
No,
It's
I know
okay to
personally.
fail. Yeah. Like, it really, yeah, we should really say that, it really is okay to make mistakes. It's okay to yeah, to fall, to have a bad day, to feel angry, to feel hateful. Any of the negative emotions, they're not bad. They come with medicine. If
Yes.
only if we work with them. And by working with them, I mean falling in love with them. And this is where the plants are actually way older than us. Let's just also
Yes.
mention that they are way older. To a lot of the elders, they see plants as elders, because
Mm,
they contain so much wisdom. They have watched over us for many,
yes.
many years. And because each plant has a unique vibration, a unique song, um, healers of the past have came up with many rituals. Actually, it was taught by the plants on how to use their medicine to heal. And what happens is, let's say there are excess vices in the family, and that created some form of energetic dysfunction. Let's say, okay, like excess sexual energy,
Mm-hmm.
and had multiple wives and lovers and everything, and that could have caused a negative effect throughout the family line when it goes down, because there was a missing development in boundaries, where,
Mm-hmm.
like, honor thyself, honor thy partner. And I'm not preaching morality, everybody. I just want to say that, because it's not about that. You can have multiple lovers, but if you have to do it responsibly, where
It has to
you
be,
do, yeah,
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 open and done
open,
consciously. And so you're
yeah,
not manipulating other people thinking
yeah,
they're not aware that they're in an open relationship, but
yeah,
you're
yeah,
manipulating them to think that
yeah. Yeah, or if there's
different
violence,
ideals.
or any type, like the family that I'm referring to actually had quite a bit of violence, and in uh, and at the same time, that caused the progeny, to not be able to have healthy relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And they would blame themselves, and it was generational. It's like multiple cousins, multiple could not just hold down a relationship, and all of them seem to attract a partner who would just deviate and not honor them.
And
And
just a
yeah,
quick aside,
sure, yeah.
there's scientific evidence to support this.
Hmm.
It seems,
Oh yeah,
and I know,
yes, yeah,
when we're so used to a certain paradigm, it's hard to
yeah,
accept this. But there's people that scientists that have done studies with, say,
Mm.
someone that's been in a concentration camp. Their grandchildren,
Mm.
not knowing the grandparent had ever been in a concentration camp, had
Oh
nightmares
yeah.
of the concentration.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
this
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is not too far
Yeah.
out there, and science is backing this up. So it's something to really
Yeah.
pay attention to when you're coming
Yeah.
in. It's like, and I was adopted, and I know I'm coming
Wow.
in
Yeah.
with past histories that came in through my genetics. I know that.
Oh
And
wow.
after meeting
Yeah.
my birth mother and talking to her a couple years ago, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of things made sense because of what
Yep.
she said.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
sorry, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but I really wanted to make that
No.
point
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
think some
Can.
people
Yeah.
can start to tune out when they
Yeah.
hear this. It's like baloney.
Yeah.
It's
No.
not scientifically
Yeah.
backed.
Yeah. I love that because it helps to make it rich and it flashes it out from a different angle, which makes the view very rich because this is a very multifaceted subject. And as well as if you just think about it, if you're marinated in an environment where, going back to the example, like a lot of cheating has happened,
Hmm.
dishonor, it just makes complete sense that the psyche has learned that this is normal. I can do it like that.
Hmm.
And instead of having boundaries, um, you are not able to stop that. Yeah, to stop that. And because why in your psyche that's normal, that's
Hmm.
acceptable.
Yes.
And yeah, and
It's
that's
built
another
into the
way. Yeah,
DNA and the RNA
the
and the methyl
DNA and the
markers.
yeah,
Yes.
and also psychologically, you just don't have the backing of what is a you the backing of even just the belief of I can have a good relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, it's impossible because all I knew was madness, and
Yes.
all I see is madness. Because
Yes.
on the additional thing that can happen from that is all your friends are in dysfunctional relationships, and or dishonorable relationships, and
Yeah. Well, it's
I
almost like you
yeah,
came in with that energy, either
yeah,
the shame, or you came in with betrayal, or you came in with this
yeah,
womanizing,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and as an infant, and then growing up with
mm,
that DNA infused in your brain and your being,
yeah,
and so then you're creating that vibration. So who are you going to attract?
mm,
People that
yeah,
will
yeah,
reinforce that paradigm.
yeah,
And I think
absolutely,
spiritually, maybe that's what we're here for, to
yeah.
break the cycles.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's where the plant elders can come in because some of the plants have songs, vibrations, genetic sequences, and wisdom, because they are alive. Because if you think about how a plant spirit works with you, they don't have kidneys, they don't have a brain, they don't have a heart, they don't have livers. But even if you just ingest an herb or you go through a plant ceremony facilitated by a real native, please, not someone who's culturally appropriating or, like,
Right. Yeah.
who is untrained. Um, 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 and what can happen is the plant has the intelligence to go into your body and tweak and move things out of the system,
Hmm.
and it is so wise and intelligent. It's incredible. So what happens is when we begin to invoke the plants, invite them in, most of the time the healer can only prescribe a plant that they have a relationship with, like they have worked significantly with the plant for at
Is
least
it
a
like
few
a
months.
specific plant, or would I say
Yeah,
I now
yeah,
know redwoods, or is it
yeah.
my redwood in my backyard?
Both,
Oh, okay.
because one plant is connected to all plants. So like the
Oh,
redwoods are connected to all redwoods, and they are able to communicate between the two. And there's a lot of fascinating documentaries coming up. A lot of the
yeah.
forest is related. They talk to each other.
Hmm.
And a lot of us thinks that plants have no feelings. They do. Haha, sorry,
Yes.
vegans. So
Yes.
like, yeah, so just and yeah, it's
Whoops.
also part of, yeah, whoops, yeah, that's part of the reason why a lot of the natives would ask for permission before they harvest, because there really are some days where the plants say no, it's not a good day,
Yeah.
and there's
And I
also,
think too,
yeah,
my innate sense is I grew up talking to plants,
mm,
and my innate sense is they feel like when we do better, they do better. So they have this absolute energy to helping us. So if they say
Yes.
now's not a good time to harvest, it's for our benefit as well as their benefit.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's why a lot of the great elders, they when they harvest, they would take the young and they would leave the older parts of the plant intact, so that the progeny can continue. So it's really important to respect the cycles of nature, and they would know when to harvest. So but with regards to plant spirit healing, I'll just wait for that bike to go by.
Yeah.
With regards to that plant spirit healing, you are able to call on the plant, beyond time and space, and they would come to restore the song in a person. And with plants, they work much slower. And if you work, and it's the same principle if, let's say, you were to work with a mineral, and yeah, minerals, rocks, any part of
Yes.
nature. But one of the benefits of plant spirit healing is we don't over harvest, and we can allow nature to replenish itself, with a
Again,
lot of
the seventh
yeah,
generation
seventh
ideal.
generation. Yeah, we
Yeah.
do not take unless we are allowed to, or we do not
Oh,
teach unless we are allowed to.
can
And
you
there
imagine
are,
if we could just push a
yeah.
button right now and everyone could understand that?
Yeah,
Just,
it's
we
very
would,
sustainable. I love
yes.
indigenous wisdom. One of the reasons why I'm so grateful for them is because, with I'm actually Chinese, and I'm a diaspora because my ancestors moved to Malaysia, and I have lost so much of my culture and so much of my wisdom to, both colonization and internal colonization, where
Mhm.
when we had, the communism period, a lot of the sacred wisdom was lost. And I'm so grateful for these
Mm.
elders because they retain a lot of the wisdom, and they could help me go back to
That's yes.
back, yeah, to get it back.
That's
Yeah,
another really important thing to say is when we think all hope is lost, there's still the record keepers. And I've
yeah.
had two people on. One did the Crystal Kingdom, and one
Oh,
does Safari, where
oh
we look
yeah.
at dead trees, and there's a record in them.
Yes.
We just have to
Yeah.
learn how the language, and
Yeah.
we're easily learnable. Like we can learn new things.
Yeah.
We can learn what the plants have stored to
Absolutely.
tell us. And I knew this too,
Yeah.
is in our ancestors and how they would pick certain
Mm.
plants and were healing. There's certain lot of
Mm.
the most healing plants taste
Mhm.
horrible. They're very bitter. And so you have to
Oh
understand that
yeah.
they
Yeah.
had to have a understanding. The plant had to communicate with the person and tell them, I have
Yes.
healing properties.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and again,
Oh
it's
yeah.
not in English, it's not in Chinese, it's not in
No.
German, it's not
Yeah.
it's an innate understanding. You're drawn to this plant,
Yeah.
and I just want to take a bite of that leaf. For some
Yes.
reason, I'm
Yes.
drawn to it, and that's the language. And so if
Yeah.
we can start to tap
Yeah.
in more to this plant language, which you have
Oh yeah. 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 You will fall in love with them because they are loving. And if we more and more of us can really respect nature, I really believe that nature can rejuvenate very
yes,
quickly. And this is part of the reason why they offer their medicine. Because, as babies on earth, human beings are babies, and we are very, um we're innocent, and at the same time, in that innocence, we make a lot of boo-boos, and
I
the
do.
plant, yeah, we do, and we cause a lot of harm sometimes. And so, but with the elders, they can gently correct us and
Yes,
help us come into a state of peace a bit at a time. As the plants come into our genetic sequence, they begin to restore and sequence our DNA as well, where the song begins to sing, because we really are music. To some of the elders, they would say that if we were to remove your body, all you would see is just light and music, light and song. And I love that. And so if we can think about it as, we are kind of like a recorder of songs, or a musical instrument of songs. And as they teach you their song and rhythm, Rhythm is very, very important in plant healing, because if you just look at humanity right now, and if you were to put us on a graph, that's a rhythm. If you look at
Mm.
a person's stress graph, or when you put someone on a lie detector, what you're
Or
detecting
or
are
maybe like
rhythms.
relate it
Yeah,
to the current global
yeah,
climate right now.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
on high anxiety,
Oh
high
yeah,
stress, panic.
panic.
And
Yeah,
then what's the first thing we want to do? We want to get on the computer and promote more panic because it
yeah.
seems familiar. And
It
that's,
is. Yeah,
but to be able to connect with those that have seen through all of this, they've seen the
yeah,
great wars, they've seen the Great Depression, they've seen everything.
yeah,
They're the sacred witness that
yeah.
then can see us and rearrange our chaotic songs to ones of peace.
Yeah, absolutely. And to quote a Maori elder who I met about a few weeks ago, a teacher, a great teacher, um, both of them, Robert Popata and Jolie Davis, they both taught me. One of their elders said that for a human being, if you when you hold your breath, like just imagine a person is holding their breath, and the elder would ask, which would you choose, love or your breath? So it's almost
Mm.
like we would definitely pick our survival at all times. And even in this part of the world where there are a lot of people teasing each other for panic buying, but
Yes.
when push comes to shove, Malaysia just announced a shutdown.
Yeah.
um, the Malaysian people went into panic buying, and
Yes.
there's no judgment there. And but of course, people can get upset with that. I'm not stopping anybody, please. But what I'm saying is, we all have to understand that the survival brain is way stronger than the
Hmm.
emotional brain. It will
Absolutely.
it will take over in the blink of an eye.
Yes.
So, but where spirituality can come in and help, real genuine spiritual paths, where we are training the survival mind to move into love as much as possible, so that in times of need and panic like this, we can remain as channels of grace, where we can hold the energy of peace for others,
The
and
channels of
yeah.
grace, and I think, just as you were talking, I feel like the evolution of
Mm,
humankind, because we need to evolve. I feel like, and I don't mean to say this to trigger anyone, but I feel like we are now a
mm,
virus on Mother Earth, and we're launching an immune response. So the virus needs
mm.
to transcend and become something that is once again in balance. But when you
Mm,
said, do you choose love or do you choose your breath?
yeah.
What came to my mind was that if I choose love, the breath will come. If I have enough
Mm,
faith to say I choose love, whatever
yeah.
that means, because if you're in such a state of acceptance
Yeah.
and whatever it is, I am love.
Yeah.
I don't even need to
Yeah.
choose love, but this is who I am in my being. The
Yeah.
breath will come, the oxygen will
Yeah.
come.
That is a beautiful point, because and that is a very high I don't like the word high. We actually don't have the language for it, but it's a
No.
very high spiritual truth, where in the sense that when you get it, all that you need will really be there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's
You,
truth,
but
and it's
it's
truth.
it's
Yeah.
it's almost like, um I read somewhere and it really resonated. You jump off a cliff and assemble
Mm.
the airplane or the parachute on the way down. That's how much
Mm.
faith you have. That's how much faith it takes to step
Yeah.
into your truth.
Yeah.
To play
Uh,
small is to figure out the airplane before you go and test procedures. But
yeah.
and this is an analogy, not
Yeah. Analogy, don't take it literally, everybody.
not literally.
yeah. Yeah, not
Just
literally.
an analogy of,
yeah.
this is how the universe
Yeah.
works. You really have to take that leap of faith,
Yeah.
jump off that cliff
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
assemble it, and everything will come to you on the way down.
Yeah.
Choose love, the breath will come.
Yeah. It takes a lot of practice. And just for a fun aside, there are people who have such a great relationship with the breath that they can be not breathing externally, but internally, a breath is moving. They are breathing without
That's
moving.
amazing. And
Yeah,
I
I
read
just
about
want to
that.
share that. Yeah.
Or they'll take like 4 breaths
Yeah.
in 10 hours or something like that. Like the deep meditators.
Yeah.
And I do breath work every morning, and
Great.
I've
Yeah.
gotten up to 3-minute breath hold, 3 minute. So this is nothing compared to what these people are doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I keep
Yeah.
talking to this, that primal brain. Like I have I have all the oxygen I need. I'm hyper oxygenated. I'm alkaline state, but it's just like, you're talking to your brain, but then the places that you go afterwards is incredible. It's like all the cells die that you don't need, all the damaged cells and the mutated cells that could potentially create disease. You feel them just going away.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. I love that you have that practice of self-care. And these are very powerful points to remind everybody that, hey, we're really capable of great things, especially in
Yes.
this time. And to
And
I think it's
it's
also,
simple.
yeah, it's simple, and it's a great opportunity for us to showcase our genius, to help to bring
Yes.
peace into the world. And I think this is what the Plant Elders want as well, because they, it's one thing to take in the vibration and the frequency, but it's also to share it and to embody the principle, because
Yes.
that's the next stage. You take in the rhythm, you embody the principle, you become the plant yourself, where you are now wild garlic, you are now chamomile, you are now lavender, you are now, and you are one with it, and they are now your relatives. And so with
Yes.
that, there's such a beautiful symbiotic relationship or cooperation, where you understand that without the elder I won't be here, and they become your family, and you take good care of them, where you like, for me, one of the things I do daily is with excess water, and sometimes I share my food with the plants, and I put, I make sure it's biodegradable and it's not too toxic in any way. I just
Yes.
put it into the soil and say thank you for sustaining my family. And I have quite a bit of plants in my gardens, thanks to my parents. And, we work together. They work quite a bit. I do a lot of the watering. I bring a lot of the plants in to take care of them and to allow them to really, and also, if you think about it, we're protecting a genetic data bank that
Yes.
is necessary for the next generation. So
Yes.
all these,
And our historical record as well.
yeah, yeah, and to have this relationship is so loving. This is why I appreciate Indigenous wisdom so much, because it's not
Yes.
just about you.
Amen to
Yeah,
that.
amen.
Amen
Yeah,
to that.
it's about honoring everyone else,
But
and
that
to,
is so
yeah,
healing in itself, is
yeah,
when
yeah,
we can see, how can I be of service, and an actual way to be of service, not going around the world seeking for people to help and, trying to
yeah,
drag them into the light. But this
yeah,
is this is this is what you said, the symbiotic relationship. I think we've gotten so
mm,
far away from symbiosis
yeah,
is in this planet, and
yeah,
we've lost sight of the truth.
mm, mm-hmm.
We've lost sight of the truth
Absolutely.
for, a bank statement, or something, our investment statement that looks good, and we start to think that that piece of paper somehow has meaning, and it's a
Mm,
meaning of who I am.
yeah,
And then when we get back to, just look at the plants, and what they're here to teach us, and their wisdom, and their unconditional love,
yeah,
and their non-judgment,
yeah,
and it is a symbiotic relationship. When they do better, we do better. When we do
yeah.
better, they do better. And if we
Wait a
could see
minute.
that in ourselves as humans,
Yeah,
get rid of this violent need for competition and jockeying for position, and vying for
yeah,
social status. If we could
yeah,
let that go,
yeah,
even just for a minute, to see what it feels like,
yeah,
and knowing, like, this relationship with you, when you do better, I do better, so I am supporting you fully, and that
yeah.
feels so good. Or when you're of service to the plants, and you're contributing. And I like to go out into the forest, and if I connect with a tree, I like to do,
Mm,
a little gift. I'll put, like a little talisman or something next to the
mm.
tree, and it feels good. And
It
that's all it
does.
doesn't mean anything more than that. I'm not
Yeah.
expecting the tree to say thank you.
Yes.
I'm not expecting anyone to take, Instagram my picture. It's just
Mm.
thank you so much
Yeah.
for the moment I shared with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, nature is so generous. Yes, it's actually very difficult to grow things because not all the seeds germinate into adult
Hmm.
trees. And that's why we have to treasure them and take care of them. But at the same time, nature is so generous because if you allow an ecosystem to be what it is and the variety, the human body actually thrives on variety, and you cannot
Yes.
rely on a monoculture.
No more
And
monocultures.
no
Thank
no
you for saying that.
monocultures, yeah. And this is all things that I, you know, when I hang out with the elders, you know, I like to sit in my garden and like
Yes.
just learn and be with them, and this is the things that they share, you know, because it's needed when you have a huge variety of plants. It's so healing for the planet. Madness disappears when a person forest bathes. There's a beautiful book called The Biophilia
Yes.
Effect. It talks about that a lot, and a lot of the forest bathing traditions. And also, just for another fun fact, there was someone, I don't know what machine it is, but he hooked up a plant to a machine and the plant was singing. How
Yes.
beautiful is
That
that?
is
I
so
mean, yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
And
and
you
so,
can't, and I have taken people out on nature hikes. I do a meetup group and where I take people out just
yeah,
on little nature cruises, but I call it the
yeah,
choir section because there's a
yeah,
section of these eucalyptus trees and whatever is in this zone, but the trees will sing and you can hear them forming different
yeah,
notes together. And then there's one that just sounds like computer programs and it's a
yeah,
different section,
yeah.
but and it's
So
every
cute,
time,
so
and you
cute.
can't
I
make it
love
up, but
it.
it's
You
just
can't make it
their
up.
song. That's their
Yeah,
song, and it's just
yeah,
it fills you with wonder. And I think we're
yeah,
so craving that in this world too, just that feeling of
absolutely.
wonder. And those are things
Yeah.
immediately that you could do right now to shift
Yes.
yourself out of fear.
Yes, absolutely. And I love, they're to me, with the dolphins and the whales, they are the original sound healers of
Wow.
the planet. Yeah, because everything is sound in the
Yes.
Hermetic principle, everything is vibration. So yeah, that's basically what plant spirit healing is. It's to, in essence, bring in the songs that we need, the songs that we have forgotten how to sing. Maybe it got lost in
That's beautiful.
translation, yeah, or
It's the
maybe,
songs we have
yeah,
forgotten to
songs,
sing.
yeah, forgotten to sing, or
But
got
we can help
lost,
have the
yeah.
plant kingdom help us remember them.
Yeah, and a lot of the native elders said that if you forget who you are, go to the plants, they will remind you, they will teach you. And there were a lot of creation stories as well that said that, you know, the Creator took away our knowledge of everything because humankind was misusing it. And
We didn't
um,
understand it.
yeah,
Like you
we
said, we're
didn't
babies,
understand
we're
it.
little
We're
toddlers, and we
babies.
don't
Yeah,
understand. Sorry,
yeah. And
but
all the wisdom,
but it's time.
yes,
You
it's
know,
time.
we can't fall back on the baby's
No,
excuse anymore. It's time to
yeah,
wake up, and
yeah.
it's now. The
Yeah,
time
and
has
the
come.
yes, and the elders hold a lot of the wisdom. They and you can go back and recollect it from there. And that's plant spirit healing in a gist. It takes time to heal and to have patience and to constantly relook because nature is a spiral pathway and you are
Yes.
constantly spiraling and relooking and relooking and relearning from different angles. So to not assume that healing is instant, there's an injustice out there to a lot of traditional healers because what a traditional healer does is they take the time to build you up and to rebuild your spirit. They do not work like allopathic medicine. It's not instant.
No.
And what most of these healers are aspiring to do is to help you rebuild your spirit and fall in love with yourself again so that you can share that wisdom with the world. And it's not for you. It's not about narcissistic or individual needs. It's about the collective, and we have to work as a collective. So, yeah, that's
That's the
the
most
yeah,
perfect thing to say in this moment. And I feel that
yeah,
this is a global issue. We
yes,
are, we, are a collective, and to just reach out in the moment. How can I be of
Yeah.
service? Or when you're connecting with your plants, look at it how you connect with your plants if you're a gardener. How
Yeah.
can I treat another human being as well as I'm treating my plants? Or
Yeah.
what, whatever it is, that's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing to say. It's like, we are the
Yeah.
human race.
It's
And
true.
but
Yeah.
that will, if you want to heal the planet, and if that's your motivation, start
Yeah.
here and connect with
Absolutely.
Ian.
Yeah.
He is
Oh, yeah.
incredible.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Robin, you reminded me. Do you want me to do like a quick plant song healing
Yes,
to
yes, I
for
would love that.
everyone in the
Yes,
recording? Okay, great. I'm just gonna grab my drums before let go as well.
yes.
And lemongrass is a brilliant medicine for cholesterol, and it's very
Oh
antiviral.
my
It's good
gosh.
for yeah,
We need you
antifungal.
right now,
Yeah.
Ian. This whole planet needs you right now.
Yeah.
This is so
Oh,
important.
yeah. Yeah.
just
Oh, the
just well,
yeah.
and just to have these
Yeah.
alternatives to what my mission and why I'm here on this planet is, to show people there's another way besides things that harm the body.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it might save your life in the moment, but that's great.
Yeah.
3 days, 6 days, but there's
Yeah.
all of these alternatives
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
plant kingdom that
Yeah.
are available to heal the
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
that don't harm it.
Yeah, and we can have both because like
Yes.
with modern medicine, it's great for pandemics, it's great for emergencies and like broken bones. And with
Yes.
traditional healing, we can help with nourishment because we are skilled, highly skilled in nourishing. There are plants out there who can mend your bones very quickly.
Amazing.
And
Yes. Okay.
yeah, so that's it.
I'll
So
close
I'm
our eyes.
gonna do that. Yeah. Pandai Ungai Pandai Ungai Pandai Ungai Pandai Ungai Pandai Ungai Pandai Mungayo, Pandayo, Mungayo, Pandayo, Mungayo, Pandayo, Mungayo, Pandayo, Pandayo, Mungayo, Pandayo, Ungayo, Pandayo, Ungayo, Pandayo, Ungayo, Pandayo, Ungayo, just closing your eyes, feeling the energy course through the body, allowing it to slow you down, to calm down. Whew, okay.
Thank you. Deeply,
Yeah.
deeply grateful for
You're
you,
so
Ian.
welcome. I'm very grateful too for you. Thank you for doing your work and thank you for having me.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Ian. And
Yeah.
again, all the links will be below, and connect with the
Mhm.
plants. And if you can start feeling the fear and the panic, just go outside and look at your trees or your garden. Connect with the
Yeah.
plant.
Yeah,
That's it.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Ian.
Thank you.